This is the first in our series. We'll have several tools this time, but we'll add on each time. And I want to start out by introducing ourselves. I'm Angie White. I'm the Director of Instructional and Technology in Oldham County Schools. We have Rosalind Manning, who is our digital learning coach for the North and South campuses, and Lauren Rata, who is our digital learning coach for the OC and East campuses. So you'll hear lots from them today. They have lots to share with you. So just a little bit of housekeeping. If you will, just please keep your mic muted. That helps for us to keep from having any background noise or any reverberation from circular mics. And then if you have questions, please use that chat box. What we'll do is we'll moderate throughout and answer the questions or address them as we go, or we'll address them in the Q&A that we have at the end of our time. So if Lauren or Rosalind, if you will put in the chat our agenda, or actually the slide deck for this particular session in the chat so they can open it. And once you get that open, you may want to pin it just so that you can refer back to it as you're sitting through our session today, and then we'll have other ones for the future. We'll also be recording, as you just heard, so that we can make this available to you at a later date, so that you can go back. Sometimes these tend to be a little fast and there's not a whole lot of time to play. So that'll give you the opportunity to catch things that you might have missed and to catch a few resources as well. So you might be saying, why in the world did you all choose to do to focus on collaboration in a pandemic? And basically, over two decades ago, researchers Anderson and Garrison demonstrated that success in online courses depended on the relationship between the student and the content, the student and the instructor, and students and classmates. And furthermore, when students weren't collaborating with classmates, they miss out on new perspectives, new ideas, and new approaches to solve problems. So they miss out on the opportunity to develop those critical soft skills, such as communication, problem solving, and creative thinking. So that's our frame for presenting these tools to you during these sessions. And Lauren, I'm going to stop presenting and let you take over.
I think this one's mine, so I'll go ahead and start here. Let me share my screen really quickly. So I'm just going to briefly go over with you the format of our slides and of the sessions today. So you might notice that on the slides, like if I clicked on here, the first one, Verso, it will take me to the Verso slides here. And so most of these links are going to be clickable, or at least for session 1, they'll be clickable. But you'll notice here, session 2, if I were to click for the next session, if I clicked on Kami, it's not going to take me anywhere because we just haven't gotten there yet. And so as we continue with our sessions, we will then add all of that information into the slides, and these links will become clickable when we have our second session. And then when we have our third session, all of these links will become clickable, and so on. And so that's just kind of how that is set up. So today we're going to focus pretty heavily on Verso, which I will be leading that. And then Lauren will focus on Google Earth and collaboration with Google Earth. And then she will also be doing Google Workspace as well, and some of the changes that are happening there with Google Drive. If you've noticed that the icons are all changing and all of those types of things. So Lauren will tackle that in her sessions. So I am going to, just to prevent any lag or anything, I'm going to come turn my camera off real quick. And so I'm just going to start here with Verso. Verso is a really awesome like online collaboration platform that I've used it for years in the classroom. It basically allows students to engage in digital discourse, so just written discourse. And what I really love about this is that their conversations are anonymous to each other, but to the teacher, they are not anonymous. And so when students respond to each other, it just says something like respondent 1 or respondent 2, where for us as teachers, we actually get to see their names attached to the comments that they're leaving for their peers. And I think the benefit of Verso is, or one of the biggest benefits of Verso is that anonymity that it provides, because I just think students are more comfortable knowing that they can give feedback to their peers without judgment. And they also feel a little bit more comfortable just sharing their opinions and their thoughts without having their name tied to that. Teachers have access to lots of different resources through Verso. One of those is engagement reports from their activities to see how many students participated in general, like how many just left a response. And then you can also see how many students left comments for their peers. And so you can kind of see how they've interacted with the assignments that you've posted. I've got some resources here for creating a teacher account and then creating a student account if that is something that you want to share with your students. Before you go off and create accounts, though, I do want to just forewarn you, normally in a tool training type thing like this, I would have you participate as a student. But Verso, if you go create a student account, you then have to contact their customer service and have them switch your account to a teacher account. So don't create for yourself a student account. Their customer service is wonderful. I have had to contact them for several things. For example, I first created a student account and they switched it over for me. But it is that extra step of you have to contact them. They're also in Australia or New Zealand, one of those. And so if they do anything, it's going to be in the middle of the night, our time. It's not going to be immediate, most likely. So definitely create a teacher account and not a student account. I will be able to kind of take you through and show you some past assignments that I've done with students, just so you can kind of see the work that they're creating with each other. I've got all of these links here are videos of how to create accounts, how to create a class and inviting students and that sort of thing. You can also invite colleagues, which I'll show you how to do. These videos are really just here for you to be able to access later. And so lots of really, really awesome things you can do here in Verso. So I'm going to exit here. You are going to go to versoapp.com, versoapp.com. And actually, I think I'm going to, just for ease on these slides here, I'm going to make Verso up here a link so you can just click on it. Just to make it a little easier for you. So when I click on that, it brings me here to my home page only because I'm already logged in and I already have an account. But once you're logged in and you have you're here on your home page, creating classes and inviting students and all of that is super simple. So I'm going to come up here to this hamburger icon and click on that and just go to my classes. And you can see I've got several I've got a sample class and another random class, and then classes that I've used in the past with students. So I'm going to click this plus sign up here and just create class. And then I might name this collaboration in a pandemic, just as an example. And then you can add in your subject area. Wonder if is education on here. No, we'll go ELA. And then you can select your year as well. So whatever grade level it is that you're teaching. So I'm going to just I'll go with 8th grade. And then as you scroll down, you'll notice you can go ahead and invite your colleagues So I'm just going to click. You can see these are friends, or not friends, I guess, but colleagues that already have a Verso account, but I can, actually, let's see, search. Invite by email. There we go. Let's see. Whoops. And then Lauren Rata. And then, oops. Oh. Lauren Rata. There we go. All right. Just took me a second. And then click add. And then she should get an email about that right here. So here she is. And then I can go ahead and create class. And you can add more than one teacher there. If you create a class, for example, let's say you created a class right now, and then you found out you were going to have some kind of special services teacher come in your room, whether it be an ECS teacher or speech language pathologist or whatever. You're like, oh my goodness, I did not add that person when I created the class. You can edit the class. So right here, I'm in Collaboration in a Pandemic. But if I come up here to the skinny snowman in the yellow here, I can edit class and scroll back down, and I can add another teacher here. And again, it can be somebody on the list, or you can just invite by email and go through this whole thing again with another teacher. You just want to make sure, close out of that. You just want to make sure you click update class so that those changes save. But you can invite teachers after the fact if you realize that you need to do that. So I really like that you can have co-teachers on here with you. I know that we're kind of focused on student collaboration mostly in this PD, but teacher collaboration is also really important. And so Verso allows you to do that in several different ways. So once you're in your class, you can create your activity. So I'm in the class, I'm going to go to this plus sign here and then go to create activity. And what I really, really love about this is that Verso gives you so many ways to kind of help support your students in their learning. And so I might give this, I'll call it Collaboration in a Pandemic. And then you can type in, my students will be learning to, and so you've got your standard or your essential question or whatever it is that you're using. You can then insert files that you might have your students start by reading something. It might just be a quick passage, maybe 3 sentences from something that you're reading in class, or it could be anything. You can attach files or links to articles outside of Verso. So if you had a news article you wanted them to read, you could insert that link there. If you've got a PDF from your Google Drive that you want to insert, you can insert that there. And that way it gives them something to start with. Like, you can start with reading this piece, and in the activity you are using, you're going to have a discussion about whatever it is that you read. So you would use these resources here, or tools, I guess, to insert resources for your students. And then you've got your instruction section. So during this activity, I would like students to, and then you would, I might say, 1, read the article above. And then number 2, answer the following question. And it might be something very simple. It could be, again, this is very simple, but what was your big takeaway or aha moment from the reading? You've got other ways that you can format this. You've got You can do headings just to make certain text stand out. You can bold, italics. You can insert attachments and emojis and that sort of thing here as well. So you have a lot of different options there as you are creating your instructions. And then once I've got this, answer this question, I want to be very specific for my students. Once you have submitted your response, respond to at least 2 of your classmates with a question about their aha moment. And that way you're being very specific. First, I want you to read the article. Second, answer the following question. And 3, respond to 2 of your classmates. And so that's just their general overview of their expectations. This is the part that I think is one of the most powerful parts of Verso. And you'll notice it says it's recommended, so it's not required, but it gives success criteria and conversation starters. And I'll show you an example of one that I've done with students before. But this is a really good way, especially for kids who have that tendency to say, I agree with you, or, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I like what you said about blah, blah, blah. And then they don't ever really dive into a deep discussion. This is going to support that online collaboration for them. And I will also note, I say online collaboration. I have done this just sitting in the classroom with students on Chromebooks. So this does not have to just be NTI or VLA. This is something that you can transfer into your in-person instruction as well. And really that was one of our goals of the PD, was for you to be able to take these tools, use them in NTI, but also use them in face-to-face instruction, because we know that having kids getting up, moving around the classroom is just not something that seems feasible this year because of COVID. So these are definitely things that you can use when we go back in person as well. But anyway, so here you would put conversation starters, and for these, it might just be a sentence starter that will get kids to really kind of fill in the blanks for sentences that will start really good discussions. So I really, really love these pieces here to get students collaborating. For activity settings, these you'll see they're automatically toggled off, but you can change them. This one also says students must submit at least 1 response. You can click and require up to 3 responses, or you can, whatever. So you can increase or decrease that as you see fit. Students can add images to their responses, audio, they can add video. Those are some resources or tools, I guess, that could be really useful for your students, especially if you've got students that do better with speaking their responses rather than typing. So you may just want to take some of these settings and just determine what is your purpose of the assignment and how is it going to benefit your students, because it could be really good for them. And you can go ahead and assign to a class. So I'm going to assign this here. You can start it on a specific date, or you don't really have to. You can just start it as soon as you save it, and that's fine too. And then you can do an end date as well. You can review all student responses before sharing to class. So you do have those moderation options, which could be really good if you want students to, if you have students, you might be concerned about what they might write and you want to be able to moderate that, you can do that. Or maybe you want them to respond today in their initial response, and then tomorrow you want them to go comment on each other's responses. And so you can kind of break it up that way as well. But you can review those so that you kind of have to accept them. And you can just click to turn that on, and then click to turn it off. So if it's yellow, it's on. If it's gray, it's off. And so you can allow or disallow students to comment on each other's responses. I personally think that, if we're really, really focused on that collaboration, you may want to allow students to comment on each other's responses. And then the sharing options here, I think, are amazing, especially if teachers really start using Verso. You can share to your school library, which means if you are at Oldham County Middle School, when you share it to your school library, every teacher at Oldham County Middle School with a Verso account will be able to see it, which I think is a powerful tool for collaboration among you and your colleagues. You can also share to the district library. So anyone in Oldham County schools with a Verso account will be able to see that, which could be really good if you've got a 4th grade teacher using Verso at Locust Grove, and then you've got another 4th grade teacher at Harmony, and they happen to be looking on Verso for an activity, like, oh, well, this other teacher in 4th grade teacher in our district used this activity. That could be pretty cool. And you can take it and copy it, and you can make any tweaks that you want to make once you've made a copy. So it may be that it gives you a starting point for working, for an assignment with your kids. Like you've kind of focused on the standards, but maybe you want to choose a different article for your kids to read or something like that. So I think these sharing features are wonderful, especially to get teachers collaborating with each other. So once you've set all of this up, all you have to do is hit save. Response not successful. Look at that. Try it again. Unexpected error. Did I do that? Maybe that's the problem. Well, most of the time it works. I've not had this issue before, so it usually works for me. I did want to also share with you some of the responses that, let's see, I need to go to my classes, that I have seen from students in the past. So I'm going to click on a past assignment. This was an assignment that I gave for students. We were practicing argument, and we were practicing concessions and refutation. So those concessions where they say, yes, the other side might argue this, and it's a valid point. However, we're going to refute that. My argument is more valid because of whatever reason. So we were really practicing that. And so I gave them an article on social media. And so I wanted them to read this article and then have a discussion online. You're going to notice here, I'm coming up to this snowman, skinny snowman. I'm going to hide student names just for confidentiality purposes of student work. So when I scroll down here, you're just going to see respondent. If I were to toggle that off, I would have student names down there. So it is not always anonymous to the teacher. You can choose when you would like for it to be anonymous to you and when you would not like for it to be anonymous to you. But I did want to share that with you before I show you all of these responses. So I gave students these tips for a great response and sentence stems for using concessions and refutations. So while it is true that blank, one cannot overlook blank, I was really trying to focus on students using more sophisticated language in their responses. And so I was very specific in the types of sentence stems I gave for them. And then you can see this engagement report, 96% of my students responded, and then 88% of them commented on someone else's work.
Rosalind?
Yes.
So we do have a question, and that kind of goes with that. Are you notified by email when students respond?
I don't think so, like for each individual response. This was something that like I pulled up their work as the kids were working. And so I could see as they were responding. But as far as getting an email notification, I don't think so. But if it was there, I probably turned it off. Let me go to edit and see if that was even an option. But I don't think I was notified by email. Yeah, I don't think I was, but I know that as they were working, I just kept this up and they populated on my screen as the students were responding. So these are the responses. And again, you would notice that yours would have their names, but this is kind of how it would look for students too. So theirs would just say respondent. And so this response says, while claiming that social media is bad for the modern teen's well-being, it can also spread a positive light from other people around the world, which most of us never had a connection to before the internet/social media. And so you can see that there are 7 comments here. So 7 people responded to this student. While it is true that social media has a positive side, and so you can see how those sentence starters really helped these students formulate good discussions. And you'll also notice that not every kid used them. But those that were really using them with fidelity did a fabulous job tackling that concession refutation in their writing the way I had asked them to. And as a teacher, you can write comments in here. You can like, so you can see this one's blue. So I can just like their response, or I can type a response in for them. And I can use some of those sentence starters to give a response to them. And so you will also notice that there's some that say hide from class. So a student might give a response that I think, that might not be school appropriate, or, for whatever reason, I don't want their peers to see it. I can just click hide from class. And then now I can still see it, but it says hidden from class. And so I really like those kind of moderation features that are embedded in here as well. I know I want to make sure I give Lauren plenty of time for her Google Earth. So I just want to make sure that I'm going over a couple of other things. I know that's super quick. I will tell you, I really love Verso. It is free. And there was something I read. I don't know why it's been free for so long. I have no idea. But I read that they have no plans to charge for it. So this is one of those tools that I'm like, this is almost too good to be true. But it really is wonderful. And again, you can do this with kids sitting in the classroom, and then you can have them do it during NTI or VLA as well. So there are just so many options with Verso. I created some resources, or I guess like compiled some resources for you. Verso has these collaborative strategies that they include here that I thought might be something you would be interested in looking at, specific for using Verso for students to collaborate. So I included that there, but I also included, click on that, and this one real quick. Some digital discourse, accountable talk. So just some sentence starters that you could use for some of those younger students. I agree with blank because blank. And so these might be things you might have them do in the classroom verbally, but you can also include these in Verso to get them having those digital conversations as well. And then I included this 6 to 12 digital discourse resource right here. I know it's a long read, but what I liked about it was at the very end, I'm not expecting you to read this whole thing, but I liked that it gave a broad topic. So I want to talk about blah, blah, blah. Like, here's how I might start this. I noticed blah, blah, blah. Or after reading / discussion, I noticed this. And so I really liked that it gave this broad topic, like, what do you say when you have a question? What still confuses me is this, or what if this? So I really liked this, the way that they had this organized down here at the bottom. But again, this is a whole resource that you can choose to read it if you would like to, but the main purpose of me putting this here was right there on that last page with those sentence starters. And so those are both linked here in this slide deck. Okay. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen real quick. And then I was gonna check and see if there are any questions. And if not, then I can hand it over to Lauren.
So there was a question, can the Google Slides link be posted again? And Lauren took care of that. And then the rest of those, I interrupted you in the middle. So I think we're good.
Okay.
And also, I think Ann just asked about how do we access these resources. That slide deck right here that Rosalind just posted has every single session and all these digital tools that we're sharing today. And then it will be updated also in the future as well as we go on with our sessions, and we'll add the additional tools. So if you want to check out those slides, and all those links can be found there. You can star it, you can add it to your drive, whatever you'd like to do. I'll go ahead. You're welcome. I want to say hello real quick before I turn my camera off for my bandwidth. But I'm going to present my screen now, and we will get started on our journey with Google Earth. Let me pull this in. All right. So the next tool that we're going to look at tonight is Google Earth, and specifically within Google Earth, the creation tool. And like we discussed, this is all about collaborating in a pandemic, and that doesn't mean necessarily whether it can be either way, whether we're in person and students are in the same room, they can still collaborate digitally, or whether we're learning remotely, or you are. I see a lot of VLA teachers here tonight. This applies to all settings. That Google Earth creation tool is actually part of Google Earth, and it allows students that opportunity to create what they call interactive narratives on their own on the web. That can be accessed on any Chrome browser of any type of device. That's another one of my favorite things. If you have an existing project, which means, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment, that means you've already created it on the web, on that Chrome browser. You can actually even edit those then on an iPad or iPhone. So yes, it does need to be initially created, whether, like I said, you're on a laptop or you're on a MacBook or you're on a desktop in the Chrome browser. But then after that, you can even access it from an iPad, iPhone, anywhere you want to be. The creation tool allows students to draw their own place marks, lines, shapes, and then attach their own custom text, images, and videos to those locations. Students, what's really nice, can organize their story into a narrative, and then also the big thing is tonight, collaborate with others. So they can click on that share button, type in whether it's another student within their class or another class, or even just collaborating with and sharing with a teacher, and share it with them. When they finish their story, though, we can still publish that to a larger audience. So when you click and they share that link, and then they go to that present button, it kind of reminds me of being in Google Slides and going to the present button. That audience can then what they call fly from place to place and view their narrative. So let's look a little bit more at this tool and see how you can use it within your classroom with your students, and then how they can use it with each other. This will always be here. So I thought Rosalind had a great idea. So if you want to click on Google Earth right here, it's going to actually take you to earth.google.com if you're in on a laptop in the Chrome browser, and allow you to go ahead and launch it. But just for later, if you want to go back and learn more specific details after we go through it tonight, this link here will take you on an intro as well into the creation tools. And so let's go to Google Earth. So I can either click here, or I can go to earth.google.com. And I'd like to show you this in live real time, how you can start using that creation tool. So when I come here, I do need to launch Earth down here in the corner. And it does take a little bit of time to process and pull up. And if it takes too long, I do have it open in another tab too, just in case. There we go. So it is ready to go. And this is that view like you're flying somewhere. Now, to get started with the creation tool specifically, and to kind of give you an overview, your tools first are over here on this tab, and your profile is here under the menu. I am logged in, and you should be as well with your school account. Students should be as well. And this is part of our, well, now they're calling Google Workspace. So it is an application within there that we are allowed to use in our G Suite accounts. And then you have the different tools over here like searching. But the main tool that I'm going to show you tonight here is under projects, and that's called that creation tool. So I'm going to click on here, and it's going to pull up for me any of my projects that I already have created or allow me to create a new one. And so I am going to show you from scratch right now how you or your students could create a project here themselves. So I went to, sorry, I should have said as I did it, new project, and then I'm going to just create a project in my Google Drive. So it's going to save right there within our Oldham County domain account. And another great thing is always with Google, it is auto saving. And so it saves automatically for us. It's pretty user friendly. It kind of walks you through it. First thing is you have to title your project. So I'm just going to do something fun. I know for instructional purposes, there are many different ways, and we'll talk about those here in a minute. I'm going to give you some ideas of how you could use this with your students and how they can use it with each other. But also building community, and sometimes with tech, if we're using a new tool the first time, sometimes we do just take that time to let them get to know the tool, and we can just use it in a fun way. So I'm just going to do an example. Let's say this is maybe a back to school activity, and I want to know about a student's summer. What are some of the things they did? So I'm going to call this My Summer Adventures in Louisville. And just, so you just type in the title of what you want your project to be created, and you can add in a description. So take a maybe journey with me on the places I visited this summer. So you can put the title of your project and then also the description. And then I'm ready to add a new feature. Think about a new feature as different places it's going to drop me around here in Google Earth. Also think about it like if you're in Google Slides and you have a different slide for each place you're wanting to visit. And so I can do this in many ways. I can come here within the new feature to add my first place. I have options. I can go ahead and I can search by keyword of a place around the world I want to add. I can just add a place mark by clicking somewhere on the map and adding it, or I can draw lines and shapes, which are great if you want to use this within math. And then last but not least, you can have a slide. And so I like to do this a lot to like make an introduction or even in between places, ask students questions or get them thinking in between. And so maybe I want to start with a slide first before I take people places. Maybe I just want to say, introduce myself. Hello. Thank you for joining my adventure. So you can type your text in, and they don't have a lot of tools within this, which I think is great, keeping it simple. And so as you can see, you can change the size by the title is going to be largest. Maybe this is a subheading, so that's how I change the size. You can still though bold and italicize if you want. Add links, and then this is the other formatting, like centering it, making lists and things. And then for the slide, you can either upload your own image if you want, or just choose a color of a slide. So maybe just to catch their attention, I'm going to make this slide yellow. And it's saving automatically. So if this is my title slide that I have after it, and I can preview it anytime if I want to, then I can go back. And as you can see, it's here now for me. Now I want to get started adding my actual places. And so maybe the first place I want to show and visit that I visited is the Louisville Zoo. So I am going to, yes, I could drag my map around and I could find it. But since I know a specific place, I'm going to go ahead and come here and type in, as you can see, I practiced already, the Louisville Zoo, and find it. And it's going to, as Google calls it, fly me there. Here we go. We're flying in. And we're going to spin around the zoo. There's the parking lot, and here's the zoo. Here's all the animals and the exhibits. And I can do one of two things. I can either keep and add this project the way it is with the image that Google has pulled, and this is from Wikipedia, as you can see, and the information. I can read to see if that's the card, and they actually call these cards, and they have images that you can scroll through that are already there, as well as some information below. Or I can customize it, and that's, in my opinion, where the power is. So I am going to add it to my project, but I want to make my own information, because that's where, like I said, the power behind the content is adding it and customizing it myself. So I can call it, I'm going to call it the Louisville Zoo as my place. I do want it there in my project of that. And then I am going to edit that place. And as you can see, it says, right now it is provided by Google, but I can replace that information. And so now I can upload my own images that I've taken, maybe of my family and I at the zoo. I can add videos if I have videos. I can add my own text to describe maybe our adventure at the zoo that day, and then also some other things. So let me show you. If you want to upload a picture, you can drag and drop it from your device. You can do an image search. So if you want to find one from here, you can. And then also you can go to your Google Drive. And I quickly uploaded a photo of my son at the zoo. I know it's not this summer. It was winter time, but we still like visiting the zoo. So as you can see, I can pull up my own photos for people to see. There he is at the zoo in his little wagon. And I can add information. Our favorite animal at the zoo is the sloth, as you can see. You can customize how large the information pops up. Maybe I want it really large. I can make my pen into a star. I can change the color of it. If I want, really just customize, upload my own, however I want to customize my journey here. And like I said, it's always saving. So now I have my title slide. I've got my first place I visited, the zoo, and I can even add another one. So let me show you. Next, maybe I want to add the mega cavern. So I'm going to add this to my project. That's not too far away, so we won't have to fly too far. And I'm going to edit it because I want to show you a different feature. And so when you are adding it, not only will it show, and I'm going to replace this information, not only will it show the image over here in the card, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, but it also gives you that view of that you're actually there. And so right now, this is that overarching view, but maybe I want to go in a little bit closer. And so if I want that actual ground level view of the mega cavern for my colleagues or my students, whoever I'm sharing this to see, you can pull up, this is called Pegman here. And when you pull him in, it's going to show you in blue all the places where people have taken street view images that you can use. So as you can see, when I pull him up, all of a sudden, all of those areas, I can drop him so that you can see what that looks like. There we go. Let's see where it takes us. And it's going to fly me in. There we go, right here in front of the mega cavern. And so I'm going to drag it around. So this is what my viewers can see as well, till I find kind of a good angle. Maybe I even want to go further. So if I click on these arrows, it'll let me walk and look at other street view images. There we go. I'm going to drag it around. I like this a lot. I like that you can see that when my viewers get on here, my audience, they know they're at the mega cavern, and they can then drag around and look inside the cave as well. And so I'm going to click on over here. It says capture this view. And so if you want that to be the first thing that they look at, if I click that, as you can see, the view is now saved. And I can also upload still though, if I want to. Images. And find one of the inside. And the popular ones, of course, are all the lights under Louisville, but I kind of want the tour during the school year or during the year that they can see as well. So as you can see, this looks like the zip lining, but still it's a neat image of inside the cave for people to look at. And you can continue to add those photos here. So you can add multiple photos or videos for people to check out. Say, my favorite part of this was, they can customize that. I said, make the information box larger, make it maybe a different color now. I'm at a different place, and it's saving automatically. So let me show you what this looks like. Also, at any time, you can drag and drop these around to change the order. You can, like I said, the pencil lets you edit. If you decide you want to remove something, all you have to do is click that delete. So let's preview it. Let's go to the present mode. And as you can see, this is where we start. This was that title slide that I created. Thank you for joining my adventure. I really do like using those slides so that they kind of have an introduction here of where they're going and why, what the purpose is. And then as they go, as you can see, it's going to fly them here to the Louisville Zoo first. And as you can see, I kept it on that aerial view. I did not go to the street view so that they could see the overarching picture of the Louisville Zoo. And over here's my card. Here's my little son Harrison in his wagon, and here is my description. When I'm ready to fly to the next place, in that present mode. Now I go to the next one. As you can see, it'll fly me over. It's pretty close to Mega Cavern. And remember, I did move it to the street view. So now they actually have a picture, not the aerial view, but of the Mega Cavern parking lot that they can drag and drop and look around, as well as view those photos or those videos and my description. So that's the end of my journey, but yours would, I know, look a lot, probably a little bit more in depth and be a little bit larger. So let me go back to my main dashboard and continue and just kind of show you, you're probably thinking, all right, this is great. So that collaboration piece, where does that come in? Right here, you have that share project. And so you can have students share with one another. So I could add Rosalind here. And I want to make sure of those permissions. So if I want her to edit it and collaborate with me, I'm going to make her an editor and say, maybe join me in creating this project. And we can collaborate in real time. It could be synchronously. We could be at the same time, whether we're in the same classroom or in our different homes because we're VLA or NTI, or it can be asynchronously. It might be that we're doing NTI, but in the morning I'm working on it, and then Rosalind in the afternoon is working on it, but we're still collaborating on this impactful journey. So that is kind of the ins and outs of Google Earth. But what I'd like to do, though, is talk to you a little bit about this next slide here. Well, what are some of those ways students can use it to collaborate? So I have some resources here that I'd love for you to check out at a later time. Like I said, it allows them to demonstrate their learning while still collaborating with others. What's really neat, yes, it's engaging, but also it makes it applicable to the real world, which is very important. But some of the ways that you could use this in your classroom are you could have students possibly identify important locations within a setting of the story. So in literacy, I do come back to, I'm elementary, I was 5th grade, we read Watson's Go to Birmingham. So I could have had my students track the journey of, from where they left up there in the north and then went down south, and those different events within the book could have been tracked through Google Earth. How neat would have that been than just us talking about it in class? Or you could also track events within history. I also think about the battles of the American Revolution. How neat would it have been to have students collaborating and working on together, putting those battles within Google Earth and having people actually fly to those places and having them use those cards to upload images, videos that they find, and then putting in their own information about that actual battle and how that impacted the revolution or the overall outcome of the war. That would have been cool. You could have students create timelines here of an important person's life. They can choose maybe the specific places that they visited within their life to kind of share about them. They could relive a trip or a field trip. So back when we get back into those days, or they could demonstrate their learning when they come back about the field trip, or maybe they are on their own creating their own virtual field trips of places they visited to share with classmates. They could also do what they call a day in the life project, where students map out the day of a life of a particular career in the community. I know a lot of us have community helpers in our standards, especially within social studies. And so that would be neat as well to show that journey. Also, you could tell a fictional story, which is also great for brainstorming. How cool would it be if students are writing a narrative and instead, and please check out, this one is awesome, this example. This is an actual 5th grade personal narrative that a student not only, so, sometimes we have those writers who struggle, but I can see a student being really engaged and interested in mapping out their narrative and brainstorming through Google Earth first. So they could actually put the places in Google Earth, and then those cards would be then like their talking points or their actual setting, the different places on their journey, instead of maybe doing a story map. This is their story map. So that would be really neat. And like I said, check out this example of this student's personal narrative, very engaging. Also, you can use this application for math problems using that measurement tool. So at the very end, they do have area, perimeter, distance that students can actually do some real world problems and demonstrate their learning about those concepts through Google Earth as well. And then also a great idea would be with using scientific concepts, thinking about tectonic plates, landforms, ecosystems, biomes, all of those things they could demonstrate here through Google Earth. And then they can create it, like I said, together in real time and then share out with the class. And so check out all of these examples. These are actual student created examples of how they used Google Earth. And then also, this is another great tool up here. This link is about how other 10 activities you could use for Google Earth. So it's not just a fancy globe where you can pinpoint places. You can really intentionally integrate your content into Google Earth, as well as having students collaborate on projects too. So that is Google Earth. I have a few minutes, and although Google Workspace, that is considered tonight our digital dessert, and so that's kind of that last tool that we're going to briefly look at, but at the same time, it's meant more for you to take it with you and to kind of look at it on your own time. Just like Rosalind kind of mentioned earlier, Google Workspace is kind of the new rebrand. We used to call it G Suite, and a lot of us still do, but they're trying to rebrand themselves. And so they're calling themselves Google Workspace, or for us, Google Workspace for Education. And as you all know, it's just that collection of cloud-based productivity and collaboration tools. And they're not limited to, but the ones we use most often are docs, slides, sheets, forms, drawings, and etc. And just keep in mind that I know that we use these tools every day for ourselves and students to do, but remember, there's a lot of tools within it to collaborate, and that can be both synchronously or asynchronously as well. These links are awesome. This is a link for the Google for Education Teacher Training Center. So if at any time you're thinking, you know, I feel pretty good about docs, slides, and sheets, but I'd really like to know about forms or drawings. If you come to this Teacher Training Center, they have very brief 2 to 5 minute videos about the different tools to train you on those, as well as global GEG. So educators throughout the entire world who are Google trained have created a series based for students. So all of these are geared towards kids. So if you're thinking, man, I really want to teach my kids about in Google Docs how to use the comment tool, but I'm just not sure how to go about it. Click here, and they actually have videos geared towards students to teach them this. And so check those out. They are global, so they have fun accents as well. And then the next slide here, just remember you can use these Google Workspace tools synchronously or asynchronously. And also, here are just a few ideas if you want to check this out. You're thinking, yes, I use Google Docs, but have you thought about for student collaboration using it in these ways? Same thing for Google Slides. Have you thought about it as, like, especially a lot of times we think about Google Slides for presentations, but they can be used to like host literature circles or book clubs. So check those out. Same thing, Google Sheets. There's many ways as teachers, we use it a lot for data, but students can also use it as well. And last but not least, Google Drawings. Here's some ways that you could use Google Drawings with students for collaboration. Let me go ahead and I'm going to present this so you can see it full screen. And then I'm going to keep my screen up and present, but I'm going to let Dr. White take over with the microphone.
So does anybody have any questions about Verso or about Google Earth or even the Google Workspace that Lauren and Rosalind went over tonight? I'm seeing some shaking heads, so I think we're good. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. You did a great job of going through those different tools tonight. I can't wait to see the ones in the weeks to come. So we do ask that you please go to the bit.ly that we have here. It's just bit.ly, and we'll get that copied and pasted into the, well, I think Rosalind already did it, into the chat. It's a very brief survey just to help us make better PD opportunities for you in the future, but it's also our way to document your time here tonight so that once the series is over, we send those responses so that you can get PD credit. So if you're needing PD credit, please make sure you complete that survey. And like I said, it's extremely brief. It's not like a long survey, but that's how we keep your attendance for PD credit. Are there any questions about that or about anything else tonight? I'm not hearing anything. Rosalind, Lauren, do you want to wrap up with anything?
No, just thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. Like we've been mentioning, I know we went fast, but this slide deck is available to you. Also, if you need to follow up with us by email, please do. And, if you have additional questions about anything, we'd be happy to answer. Also, we can, Google Meet with you and walk you through a specific tool. Maybe if you're wanting to explore it or ideas for how to integrate with your students, just let us know. We're here for you.
And we'll be back with you in 2 more weeks, same time, same place. So you all have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.